everybody. I want to welcome you now to week 8. You have made it to the halfway point. Congratulations. You are doing great. And so I want to talk to you quickly about that sheet, setting in poetry, what happens where and when. And if you want to follow along with me, you can go to course documents, content first, then course documents, and then setting in poetry. So just like in fiction, we have setting in poetry. And so when you're analyzing a poem or explicating or explaining it, ask yourself the 5W question. So who is speaking and to whom? What is actually happening? Try to figure out what's literally happening in this poem. Why is this event or experience happening? Why is it important? When is it happening? And where is it happening? So there are two kinds of settings that I want to introduce you to, and these terms will come back and haunt you on that exam on literary terms. And remember, all of this terminology, like with the elements of poetry and the terminology here, you can and should use this terminology in your writing of your paper. So spatial setting, and it means exactly what you would think that it would mean. It refers to the space, the place involved, spatial setting. So what region of the world are we talking about in this poem? What part of the country is the poem set in? What does the place look like? Is it urban? Is it in the middle of a big city? Is it rural out in the country? Is it contemporary? Is it old-fashioned? Is it really beautiful? Is it kind of an ugly place? Spatial setting. And then temporal setting. So temporal, think time, right? So what time in history? Is it right now? Is it 100 years ago? Is it 2,000 years ago? What specific date or era? What time of the year? What time of the day? Because remember, seasons of the year and times of the day correlate in creative writing with the human experience. So dawn or sunrise would symbolize the beginning of something. And midnight might symbolize a dark time or the end of something. Again, spring, a new beginning, a new life. Winter may be aging or death. So that's temporal setting. And remember too that not all poems have an identifiable setting. Some lyric poems, or also called lyrical poems, just focus on the thoughts and emotions of the writer. So they may not even really have an actual setting. Other poems might depend pretty heavily on a sense of place and or time to establish meaning. So all of this gives you something to write about in paper too. Think about the setting of your poem, spatial and temporal. Ask yourself how heavily the poem you're looking at depends on setting to establish its ideas or characters or themes. And if it doesn't depend on setting at all, then that tells you something too. So some poems will describe setting vividly, others will just offer very general detail, allowing you as a reader to fill in the blanks. So think about why that might be. And it's often for the same reason that a character is just called the grandmother or the girl or something like that, right? Or the American. So because you're going to fill in the blanks as a reader, you're going to associate that grandmother maybe with a grandmother you know in your life so that it feels more relevant to you. So that kind of technique gives you something to write about in your paper as well. Why might a writer make those choices to let a reader fill in the blanks? What advantages might the technique present for the poet in that poem, and why? And remember, the title gives you something to write about. The title is the first way that a writer has, whether we're talking about a poem or a short story or whatever it is, to communicate with you, the reader. And so what does that title make you think of? What are the connotative meanings of the words in the title? What associations do you immediately make with it? What expectations does that title set you up for? And then does the work actually fulfill the expectation or not? Think about Barbie doll. All the associations, the connotations you associate with a Barbie doll, right? And then how does the poem fulfill or deny your expectations? All of these things give you material to write about in this paper. So think about, as you're reading, why the poet may have made these choices regarding setting and how the setting contributes to the overall theme. Because remember, theme is always and forever, when we're thinking literature, the biggest deal ever, right? That's the thing we want to get to the heart of. What is the writer really trying to say here? What's the theme? What's the real underlying message of the work? So that's setting in poetry. And for this week, you have a beautiful poem by Martin Espada, Of the Threads That Connect the Stars, that talks about 3 generations of men. And the stars is the writing symbol here, that runs through the piece. And then Elena by Pat Mora. And then in the week 8 discussion board, you have comparing Mora and Estada. And then you have quiz 3. And for next week, we have a lot of poems, but poems are short works, so they're not time consuming to read. You have The Changeling by Judith Ortiz Cofer, the Facebook Sonnet by Sherman Alexie, who is a Native American writer. You have Internal Structure in Poetry, which is a document that I have created for you. And then you have Church Going by Philip Larkin, Vultures by Chinua Achebe, and then Ruins by Adonis. And you have a discussion board next week that will allow you to think about internal structure in poetry, and that's of course what my video next week will be about. So that's looking ahead just a little bit. Hope you're having a great week, and we'll talk later.